If you want to grab our men's lifestyle supplement and male advantage ebook, all links are in the bio.
It's definitely just a byproduct of consistency and being disciplined. Like you said, I mean, hormonally, it seems like guys can just go a little bit further, like our shelf life in terms of our body responding and keeping our youth. So it's not too late to seize the day, I guess. Yeah, I mean, thank you. And it's amazing what that last little bit of maybe like 10 to 15 pounds of water weight or just residual like fat you've held for a while, because just on that last stretch is when your bone structure and your face really comes to light and you start to see all the muscle that you've always been working on for so many years in the gym. It's that last bit when you get to kind of like that HD look and you lean out
HD.
to that point. That's when you really see everything come together, because I had worked out my whole life prior to that. Even when you saw me in that before picture,
Hmm.
I'd always worked out. But I have a great friend named George Wozchuk, and he was a physique competitor, and he was wanting to train me to be kind of his first client that he was going to kind of start a coaching thing. And so I was the guinea pig. And so I did like a 45-day plan with him. And I just went like 0 to 60 and, like 0 to 100, I should say. That first picture you saw wasn't the same before and after. I have other before and afters from that program, but they are both really dramatic. But what I'm getting at is that talking to him made me realize how much your diet needs to complement your training. And if you don't do all those necessary tweaks, you really are just spinning your wheels, and you're hiding all that work, like I said, for so long, because diet is truly what separates those guys you see that are so shredded. Some of them, very few, have that crazy good metabolism, and it's always worked for them. But most of the guys you see, whether it's a men's health cover or men's fitness cover and stuff, it's the diet that's really the factor. Consistency, of course, too. Sure. And, part of that before picture was, I drank beer more often at the time. I was working way too much. Um, I had too much sugar and dairy in my diet. And it's just those type of things that really do. Everyone's carrying around a certain amount of like water weight and then a little bit of fat. And once you take care of those things, yeah, you just be amazed. But it does depend on like everything. I always tell people is that, because I do online mentorships too with people, some people regularly, sometimes just one-offs, but they always ask me like what to do. And I'm like, well, it just depends. Like, are you going to try to make it happen in the next 30 days? Or do you want to do like a lifestyle change? Because everyone yo-yos. There's a million
Yeah.
fad diets out there. There's a million training programs, and they essentially all echo a lot of the same things. But it just depends on which one can you do the rest of your life, because that's the one that I want. I don't want to just get shredded for a shoot and then yo-yo back and have a belly. You know what I mean? Like it's that's so frustrating. I'd rather just maintain something. So I've tried to figure that out for myself over time, and I've learned a lot just even in the last year after knowing, feeling like I knew so much the last decade. But that was the moment when it changed, the before and after, because I started working with my friend who's a coach. Like I said, I got super shredded. It was all diet based, almost entirely, and then that spurred me to do a photo shoot, because I had a friend from being in the photography industry for so long that was shooting a casting for Harley Davidson. And he's like, "Hey, you'd be perfect. You ride motorcycles." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I really didn't really think about
Was
modeling
that your
because I
first
was
job?
32." Yeah, it was, which is
Straight to
crazy,
the
right?
top. Yeah.
I know, which is, I got thrown into something, just a whirlwind. And that's what kind of led to doing the modeling for the next decade and or so, I should say. And I stayed in shape because of that. I had to, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? And so I had to find a way to make that program I did with my friend last long term, instead of yo-yoing back. The job demanded it. So Cardio was part of it, absolutely. You kind of just get to a point where you're just trying to purge water, so you can get that HD look, and you can get off the fat by the diet portion. But towards the middle of the end of it, I mean, the cardio is definitely the sweat factor. I mean, you're drinking a ton of water, a gallon a day at least, and so it's just a cycle, right? The water in and then the water out, from the sweat, so the bloat just sheds off. And the cardio was around 45 minutes steady, or I would do 20 minutes hit. It'd be
Yeah.
those choices, right? And then the weightlifting was really minimal. It was more for blood flow, more for stimulation. It wasn't for growth at that point. It's impossible because you're at a caloric deficit. So not impossible, but very challenging. And so, it's mostly high volume, like 20 reps for all the sets, kind of. Um, what I try to do is Monday through Friday, I'll have meal preps on a Sunday, where I spend maybe 45 minutes at the most, and I kind of make all my proteins and my clean carbs, complex carbs, I mean, and I pull from that all week. Like today, being here at headquarters, I just brought grilled asparagus. I have a little bit of broccoli with it too. Lean chicken breast, and cut up sweet potatoes. And that's no surprise. Like that's like the one of the staple type of meals, right?
Mm.
Unless you're doing eggs. But that I don't want to anyone listening to think like, oh, that's all I ever eat. I knew it. It's always those guys with the chicken breast and the asparagus, right? Like I don't eat that
Yeah,
my whole life. So I do work in that meal once a day if I can, throughout the week. But it's not, I could sub it with different things, obviously. But what I've tried to do is Monday through Friday, like I'm always on a whole food diet for one, but Monday through Friday I try to eat pretty clean, and it's always emphasis with my macros in terms of my proteins being high. Um, my healthy fats are all avocado, um, hemp shells. Or I mean, I'm brain farting. Hemp. It's like hemp seeds or something. I don't know.
yeah. I
That's
know
like
what
a
you
new
mean.
type of omega. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I usually do asparagus because it's a natural diuretic. Like you'll see a lot of physique competitors eating asparagus for that reason. So I usually work that in, and then I'll do broccoli otherwise. And then my carbs are rice and sweet potatoes and oats. And then obviously other proteins will be eggs and ground turkey. And so that's just a variety of like using really good hot sauces, using Greek yogurt as your, obviously the low sugar Greek yogurt that's like 20 grams of protein a serving, using that as a sour cream alternative, and find all these ways to make it really tasty. The weekend comes, and then I can eat pretty much what I want, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to eat like pizza, hamburger, burrito all in the
Yeah.
same day. But I
Hmm.
will most likely, I have a huge burrito. Being in Southern California, like we're so close to Mexico, we have really great Mexican food. So I will typically do that on the weekend. I will have alcohol. I'll have at least like 5 drinks over the weekend, most likely. During the week, I'll have red wine on maybe every couple nights. So it's not like I'm in stage ready mode or photo shoot ready mode all
Yeah.
year long. I would think that's dependent on the person. Like if they're the
Okay.
type of person that really is wired to do the militant thing, and it works for them, and when they decide to do it, they commit. Where someone else might just be like, I hate being so strict. I want to just get lean over time. I want to slowly incorporate these new ideas into my lifestyle, and I want to get more familiar with it. Because the problem is, whenever I talk to people, is that when they go all in, if they aren't already someone who's used to being more disciplined than the average person, then they never even get past week one, because it's too extreme of a shift in lifestyle change. So that's the point of like getting past those 21 days, when something starts to feel like a habit and you're getting used to it, and you're getting to the point where you're not resenting what you're doing. I think that's so important, right? And to enjoy it to some degree, to make it your own, and then slowly swap out those bad habits. But I will say that, like, if I eat bad on a weekend, for sure, I will have residual bloat for a couple days. unless I immediately do a gallon of water the next couple of days. I immediately clean my diet back up. I do like 45 minutes steady on like a Stairmaster, something where I'm really sweating. It's typically the cardio that I can like, I can get that bloat off really quick if I
Yeah.
get an intense sweat. So I would also say to your point that if you are at your target weight, then yes, the weekend thing can work. But if you're at a point where you're like, "Oh, I'm just okay with where I'm at, but I'd like to progress at a more rapid pace," the weekend thing, I would taper back a little bit. There's nothing wrong with a little like jolt to your metabolism to have like a really high calorie meal over the weekend, but just don't do it for the whole weekend, you know? Try to get to your target weight, or decide what that is. And then just know that like it will be challenging to be that lean all year. It's not healthy because it's just extremely challenging to like stay in that really low body fat spot because your fats are probably a little too low, and that's going to affect your hormones. And as a guy, your testosterone and all those things are so critical for your mind and your body to just operate in an optimal state. So, you know, always listen to your body, and give yourself grace to not like feel like you got to get this sorted out tomorrow. Like,
Mm.
think of it as a new chapter of your life. It's going to be the best version of you, but ease into it. It was absolutely the consistency with the diet. I mean, even like after 2 weeks in, I was already starting to see like slight side, you know, oblique ab definition. And
Yeah.
I genetically, I actually had terrible abs my whole life. Like it was always challenging to ever see them. And so to me, it was such a motivator. The second I was like, whoa, I've never, you know, seen that. And just slowly, like each week, you know, more sculpted. And my shoulders were like the edges of them were kind of like shadows were underneath them. And it just looked really interesting because I find it fascinating that if you work out and you give the body what it needs, it's such an incredible machine when it, you know, computes all the nutrients and the muscle resistance and stuff. So to me, that kept me going. But I will say the struggle though was just the diet because my body was craving sugar like crazy. So I knew that that was kind of a big factor, that my diet shift was dramatic enough to my body responded immediately when I removed refined sugars. I didn't even do fruit when I was on that diet. Not that fruit is bad, because I eat fruit now. Absolutely, so nutrient dense and crucial and fiber and everything. But it's amazing what your body will do when you remove sugar and you get your calories dialed in, for a caloric deficit that's reasonable to where you're not starving yourself. Your body will rapidly change and respond, and that's what happened in the 45 days when I did that. It was so extreme though that like I said, I'd see a commercial come on TV and they'd be eating pancakes or something, and I'd be like, "Oh my god!" Like I'm
I need a
freaking out.
pancake.
Yeah, and I would just grab a bunch of diet sodas because not that that's healthy at the time, but I just
I've
needed
heard this. Yeah.
some type of sugar feeling. So that was really challenging. That's why I don't always recommend doing that extreme thing, because even someone like me that had worked out most of my life and felt like I was fairly disciplined, it was hard. It was really hard. So it's like I said, it's easier to kind of ease into it. But the secret really was the diet. It was just like the lean protein, the complex carb, um, the the asparagus, the 1 gallon of water a day, doing cardio at the gym, 45 minutes, high volume weightlifting, um, getting ample sleep. And that was just the consistency of that, doing that. That being said, it's extremely important that you do like an online macro calorie calculator before you do that, because everyone's totally different. It might have the same height and body weight, but my metabolism might be totally different than yours and vice versa. So it's super important to at least get a baseline of what you're eating right now for 1 week. And once you have that baseline and you haven't been gaining weight or losing weight over the last month or so, once you know what that typical calorie intake is each day, that's your baseline calories, right? That just keep you the way you are as you've been doing. shave off, do like -200, -300. Start with that. Like cut those calories down, get your macros in a place where it's high protein, moderate carbs, low fat, and consistently see how, okay, a week from now, take pictures the whole time. How much has my body changed in that week? About the same. Okay, probably need to go down another 100 calories or 200 calories. And once you dial that in and you stay in that caloric deficit for, until you get to the physique you want to see, it'll be about not watching the scale. It'll be about watching your body, because you might
Okay, yeah.
just have muscle still and you lost residual bloat, all that stuff. Don't get scared of the scale. Just keep looking at pictures. But that was my experience, and that's kind of still tried and true. I mean, you will hear all the guys on YouTube that really know their stuff typically saying similar things. I would 100% agree with that, because whenever, even experienced people that have been doing this a lot, most of their life, whenever you hit a wall, it's always going to be revealed by coming back to your calories and your numbers and what you're looking at. You'll always find something. It's that. So I would say anyone who doesn't want to count their calories because it seems like a terrible way to live, I would encourage you to just say, it's just a cool way to look behind the curtain, to be like, oh, like I didn't realize that. And I was, my whole life prior to getting in super great shape, I was still considered amongst my close circle of friends and family to be the one that was most health conscious, and that I knew more than most about eating properly. So to me, it was like, wow, like I thought that I already knew. And then when I would track my calories, the same thing. It was like, there's way more sugars and things that people realize, and sugars just don't. If you want aesthetics, sugars are not your friend, unless they're in fruit. But again, not while you're in the phase of trying to lean out. Like it's just going to be quicker without them. And people get carb scared too. They don't realize that when they're in a lean state, rice is great. I ate a lot of rice when I was on that plan, but it's
Okay.
just the right amount to
Yeah.
give me muscle energy for my workouts. If you have a sedentary lifestyle, you don't have a huge need for carbs like rice, because you're just not exerting yourself. So that's exactly why, like, Michael Phelps and Olympians will have tons of pasta and rice and stuff like that, because it's all like suited to their how much they exert all week.
Yeah.
But the calorie counting, yeah, for sure. I mean, I want to encourage people that I'm not doing calorie counting anymore. Like I only do it when I hit like a rut. That's when I go back. But I can eyeball a lot of things now. I can read my body. I understand almost all the foods that I eat for the most part. So I'm not doing that. And I hope that's an encouragement to people. You don't feel like you got to count your calories the rest of your life and weigh all your food. But it is a lot easier than ever with the apps that they have, I will say. If you're eating the same things all week, that's already like in your recent foods, it's not that hard. It's just something you got to get used to. That's all. It's when I started working with these high level makeup artists and stylists, in the Hollywood area, and being in LA a lot with one of my modeling agencies, LA Models, and they know anyone and everyone. So all the jobs I were doing were really huge jobs. So they bring in some extreme talent, right? And you're sitting in the chair before a shoot. And guys don't really need much prep with hair and makeup. It's fairly quick, but in those moments, they would always put things on my face. They'd say what it is. I just was so curious, like, oh, what's this? What's that hair dryer? What's that hair product? Because I would look after they're finished. I'm like, wow, like that's amazing. I can't believe you did
Mm.
that. And so I just learned from all of them, because I would talk to so many interesting people. And when you're in that scene, obviously, aesthetics and being camera ready, everyone's got different secrets. Everyone's got things that they like rave about. And so I just like kind of picked from all of it, and was curious because I was there, and I'm like, I always want to improve myself. Like I think that being in a humble mindset in everything you do, it's the best way to intake wisdom, wise men seek counsel. Like everyone's has a different path and story, and you can learn so much from each other. So I feel like it was because of that made me just want to keep refining and improve, just become the best version of myself. And it wasn't to be narcissistic or shallow. It was to build confidence and to just feel like I present myself in a professional way for the job I was doing, and to also inspire others to say like, hey, I wasn't as healthy before and now I feel amazing. And it isn't just about how I look now. Like it's a bonus, but I mean, I feel so much more positive. I have so much more energy, and more agile. And ultimately, like if you're taking care of yourself, everything internally, I'm less likely to have certain diseases, and I'll have a much healthier, longer life. When I retire, I'm not going to be someone who is just hitting the wall with my health and just declines. You know, I don't want to
I
work my
agree.
whole life.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do long game, you know, it's not just about right now. It's about like when I retire, I'll still have my health if I keep, on top of things. I think that with hair, if you can get a good cut, a fresh cut every couple weeks, that's going to be huge because it makes it so much easier to style. If it's cut the right way, then it's not a pain in the butt later to style it, because guys are lazy, myself included. I don't want to spend a ton of time getting ready. I may be a model, but I'm not a model at heart. I didn't do it since a young age. So it's not my identity. It's just like sweet, like a cool bonus that
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got to do this in my life, right? And so I asked those stylists what the best blow dryer was, what the one they were using, the product they were using. And once I found good product and a good blow dryer and a brush, that was it. It was like they showed me how to style my hair. I think that's so huge. I think that like your hair, I mean, if I don't do this, it is just a mess. Like I have to wear a hat. So that's already like a starter. If your hair doesn't look on point, it's pretty hard to like have a refined kind of clean look. So I would say start with getting a good hair product, and don't be cheap. Don't like spend $30 on a hair product. It'll last for like 6 months anyways. And the blow dryer is what, maybe like 80 pounds or 120 pounds, I don't know. For a really really good one, it'll last 10 years. I still have mine. It's like 8 9 years now. um and I do have videos on my YouTube channel. If you guys are like, well, I don't even know where to start with all that type of stuff, I have hairstyling videos, stuff like that. The next thing I would say is, for skincare, the water. Honestly, people overlook water. Like if you start drinking a ton of water every day, your skin is going to look so much more vibrant. Our bodies are made up of so much water as is. So when you're dehydrated, that's how skin ages. It just loses moisture over time. That's what's happening. So water is number one. And then number two is diet for your skin. You clean up your diet, your skin's going to look better. So you mentioned, you see, I don't mention like facial products first,
Yeah.
because you are what you eat, and what you intake is
Hmm.
so huge. Um, but I would say that like a really good moisturizer that has a lot of organic ingredients, that has a light like 15 SPF. Sun is your biggest enemy in terms of skincare. Like you're always going to want to go to sunscreen first, that has a moisturizer in it. When you get into the higher things, it'd be like retinoids, retinol, and those type of products, when you want to do anti-aging and like maintenance after you go to a certain age. But that's a deeper topic. So yeah, outside of that, style, wear clean, flattering looks, wear classic styles with modern fits. That go to the tailor with your blazers. It's not that expensive. Get your pants hemmed. It's like $5-10. It doesn't take that much to just have a good pair of black denim, some Chelsea boots, maybe for nicer occasions, a really nice sneaker that's like black with a white rim, or just all white. Um, just some nice t-shirts that are layered underneath for like cardigans, and maybe some more casual blazers. Have a hoodie to put under a blazer. It's got a cool look, So it's like a few things like that you could literally like line up in the
Mm.
next week are going to be a massive change. you know I will absolutely echo that same thing. We're visual creatures, and I know that it's a shallow part of our nature, but we are flawed by design. But I also can't deny the reality. I think that until someone opens their mouth and you can get a sense of their vibe and the type of person they are, it's hard. It's hard just on
Yeah.
visual alone. People make in a millisecond, they make so many judgments on me all the time. I mean, even Katie, my girlfriend, before she met me, she's like, I was sure you were going to be a total douchebag. She's like, I was convinced you're gonna be told, and I was like, why? She's like, because you're like all, you're all muscular in the gym, and like you look like really put together, and I figured you'd be super just narcissistic, totally into yourself, and just arrogant, right? And so that's the type of thing where like it goes both ways, like
Mm.
because I mean, sure, it's like it's great to be called attractive, but I think the second you open your mouth is what really matters, right? Like if you're not a good person, you have bad energy, you're not going to win regardless. Doesn't matter how you look. But I will say that like I've had preferential treatment ever since I was like more in shape. I mean, it's just how the world works, unfortunately. So to me, I just get excited to prove people wrong when they're like, oh, you actually like care about me and my life too, and you're not just like self-seeking, you're not just out to just get ahead in life, and all into how you look and you think you're so great. So to me, that's just like a refreshing thing to remind people that it just because you value the gift of your health and you appreciate style and you like to look nice and present yourself in a way that just looks like you have your life under control. You're not sloppy, you're not lazy. I don't think that's a bad thing. If you go away in the other direction, obviously you'll lose your soul in the process. So it's like find that sweet spot where you can feel good about yourself, how you look in clothes, and inspire others around you to take their health seriously. Because again, it's not just about the external. It's like there's a lot going on in here, mentally, emotionally, physically, that are great byproducts from pursuing seemingly shallow things. If that makes sense. Sure. So, because I've been in the modeling industry for a decade now, I've worn every brand under the sun. And so, because of that, I'm trying to fix my own problem by the menswear line that I've created. I started a couple of years ago. It's Weston Boucher, which is my full name. It's not because I'm arrogant. I want to name my brand under myself. My,
No,
my
it's a
girlfriend's like,
brilliant
"Why don't you
name.
just name yourself?" Because
Yeah.
every name was taken. Honestly, every name was taken. I thought of. But anyways, I was frustrated that fits didn't work across the board with brands. I have to get my blazer from this brand. I have to get my underwear from this brand. So for me, I'm just trying to use my experience in the industry to create something that's very cohesive and it simplifies being fashionable for a guy. So that's what I've been most consumed with. So that is my menswear line. Check it out if you want. It's a lot of things are out of stock right now, but I have a ton of things that I'm in development right now that I'm designing. I mention it a lot on my YouTube channel, so you can check out my YouTube channel. It's just Weston Boucher. It looks like Boucher if you've seen Waterboy, Adam Sandler. Bobby Boucher, that's how you pronounce it. And yeah, what else? I do have e-guides on diet and training that I mentioned. I'm hoping to have it something like an app more in the future, but it is my blueprint to how I eat and diet, and that's westonboucher.com/shop. You can follow me on Instagram, of course. I'm pretty active on that platform, and I kind of like echo a lot of the stuff I just mentioned, in case you don't want to have to figure out all those things at once.
If you want to grab our men's lifestyle supplement and male advantage ebook, all links are in the bio.